As we move forward with the rest of this presentation, I did want to just touch on a couple important items. And obviously, I just went through the overall structure of our continuous learning plan, focusing on the three goals that we stated at the very beginning of this presentation. But I also want to just address a question I know I've received throughout the course of the past 4 or 5 weeks or so, and that's really in regards to students with special needs. And we have about 20% of our students do have IEPs, and that's an individual education plan for a variety of reasons, whether it's a learning disability, it could be an emotional impairment, a cognitive impairment, so a variety of needs that our students have. And to help support those needs, we do put in place an IEP, which has very specific goals, strategies for each student. And obviously, having those students with us in our buildings is essential to meeting their needs, and even the ancillary support that we have to provide, whether it's an occupational therapist, it's a social work support system that's put in place, is going to be very challenging to do. And so, what the state and the MDE has asked us is to put forth a good faith effort. That means we're going to do our very best. We want all of our students to be successful, be engaged, be connected throughout this time. And we're going to put a good faith effort to support the goals that are documented within the IEPs. Our special ed teachers, who do a fabulous job, are going to continue working directly with their colleagues, their general ed colleagues, and more importantly with you as parents, to communicate and help plan for the lessons. I think that's the biggest thing is we're going to try to stay connected, and obviously we have a lot of flexibility with the lessons that we can provide. We have a lot of ability to differentiate, and so we're going to take that into consideration. And when we do push down lessons to students, and also if there are supports that we can do and provide to students via technology, we're going to explore each and every one of those possibilities. Obviously there are going to be some things we just can't do. It's just not going to be conducive, through a virtual arena. But we're definitely going to take a look at supporting students the best that we can. We're going to take advantage of trying to complete IEPs, ones that we think we can do via a Zoom meeting or a Google Hangout. We're not going to be able to do all of them. The state understands that. There's actually very strict guidelines in terms of timing that we're going to have some flexibility with. But also, there's some work that we can get taken care of, and so we're gonna do everything we can to support our students with special needs, our parents, because once again, we want them to have the skills and the experiences during this time that we are away from one another, so that they are best prepared for when they rejoin us, for when all of our students rejoin us in the fall. So I encourage parents who have students with IEPs that if you have questions to contact your case coordinator directly. Obviously, the building principal is a great support. Carrie Cowger, who's our director of special education, is a phenomenal resource and support as well. So communication is going to be key to this. So please do not hesitate to give us a call or send us an email so that we can make sure that we're doing everything we can to help make you feel better, help support your child. And although I've reinforced this message in at least one, if not more, emails, the one thing I want to make very clear is that this experience and this model that I just spent some time providing an overview is something that we fully expect every student to participate in doing and participating in these learning extension lessons. This is school. Now, once again, this is not a one-to-one replication of school. This is not students sitting for 7 hours in front of a computer screen with the teacher. That is something we cannot do. It's not school in which we're going to be able to cover every single topic and content standard that we would originally set forth to do. But this is school, and this is our expectation. And there are things that we have control over, and there's many things we do not have control over. But we do expect students to participate because once again, this is about their learning. If students do not participate, and we don't encourage them to do that, or parents, you don't help us in terms of creating structure and the expectation at home, it's going to hurt them when they come back to us in the fall. There is going to be an expectation that students are participating, they have exposure to the learning that's presented to them, because that's going to help us prepare the lessons and get them going even quicker when we do get them back in our classrooms and our schools in August. So obviously, it's going to be very difficult to grade. That's why the expectation of providing grades is not placed upon us, especially since we have a variety of ways through paper pencil, through through virtual means to communicate. There's definitely a disconnect in terms of that grading back and forth. We do want to provide feedback. Feedback's important. That's the most important thing to learning. It's not about points. It's not about compliance. It's about feedback. And we're going to try to do our best to continue to do that as much as we can. And we do want to let people know that we're going to be monitoring student participation the best that we can. We're going to be, keeping track of who's joining our community circles, our restorative practice circles, even folks who are participating in office hours and even engaging in lessons. And so we're going to try to follow up with families and kiddos who we don't see engaged to see why that is, to encourage them to. And if there's a challenge or an obstacle that's preventing that, we're going to help them remove that. So, our goal is to once again get everybody engaged and participating in this. And hopefully you have some fun and hopefully you enjoy it. I think a lot of us are probably getting a little bit bored. I think we'd probably all rather be in school doing something more productive. And, we can play a part in helping alleviate some of those feelings. And so this will be good for all of us if all of us are engaged as much as we're possibly able to do. Also, it's important to know that we are going to make a documentation. These aren't grades, but we do need to document, whether or not students were engaged in a meaningful way in their fourth quarter report card. And this is really so that as we move forward, teachers and administrators can see, what students really, participated and which ones may have not. Because once again, that's going to give us some information, some data about where they're at when they rejoin us. And so we're working about what that's going to look like. It's not going to be a grade, but it's really going to be, it's more about information that's going to help us when we do move forward. So once again, this is not optional. This is an expectation that we have. And I know parents, you're right there with us, and we need you to help support that, because when we're unified and we're sending the same message to our kiddos and our students, we have a better chance for everyone to be successful. Now, just moving forward, and as we wrap things up, just looking at the timeline of our learning plan rollout. Our goal, as I referenced some time ago, is that we're going to start next week rolling this out on April 20th. The state is asked by April 28th, but what we wanted to do is really have what we call a soft rollout, because there's a lot of new learning, a lot of adjustments, a lot of information that people have to get connected to, whether it's Seesaw, Google Classroom. We need to provide information to students about when the academic hours are and learning how to connect to that, and our virtual and restorative circles. So next week, our goal on Monday is to start pushing out information to students through Google Classroom, through Seesaw, that's going to contain information about the academic hour times and days in which they're going to be held, the time and day of the virtual community restorative circle, and have students engage in those. Our goal is not to just start pushing down a bunch of lessons. We're actually asking teachers not to do that. Not that there can't be learning that still students are engaged in, but our focus next week is not going to be so much the lessons. It's about, let's get the mechanics out of the way. We've got to kind of get the business side of this, so that when we do the next following week, we're off and running. Because there's going to be some glitches. There's going to be people with questions. We're going to think some things aren't going to work either on your end or our end. When you're instituting a whole new system, you have to anticipate there's going to be some glitches. Especially when you're using technology, that's just an expectation, and we want to get those glitches out of the way before we really kind of hit full board with the learning piece of this. And so that would happen on April 27th. Full implementation, getting academic hours, holding our circles and posting lessons. And so that's really what we want to have happen. So, um, please once again bear with us, and we're going to get this out. And your teachers are going to have information. If you're not getting something, once again, teachers are going to be connected via emails, answering emails that questions you may have, and also with principals as well. We're all in this together. We're all going to help one another, and we're going to help support, um, our students, our parents, and our staff throughout this process. In terms of resources, we've provided a lot of resources for our staff. We actually have a whole page that's dedicated to professional learning, and it's a lot of videos. We're doing a lot of live professional development sessions this week. Doing a lot of learning in a relatively short amount of time. But also, I wanted to share a couple of resources to you that you can just get some exposure to what these tools look like in terms of both Seesaw and Google Classroom. So I provided two links that will just show you what it looks like, how students are going to view a Google Classroom screen, how are they going to get work. So these two videos are here. There's a lot others if you just even go into YouTube and type in Seesaw tutorials or parents or even Google Classroom. There's a ton of different resources. But I did provide one for Seesaw. Now, I do need to note that a lot of Seesaw videos are going to talk about a QR code or things to log in, and we've used those in the past. But what we're relying on is our PCS Google sign-ins for kids, because it's kind of a one way we sign in, and their sign-in is their student number with their email address, and so it's like a 2001 7563 at students.pinckneypirates.org, and they have their passwords as well, and those are on MyStar. And so we're going to try to make it easy, especially for our younger first students. We'll take care of everything. You may get a code to get into a classroom. Teachers will have to push those things out. But definitely watch the video. But just be aware when they talk about a QR code for Seesaw, we're not utilizing those. We're going to be utilizing our PCS Google sign-ins. And then the same holds true for Google Classroom. You're really going to see what it looks like from a student. Our students are pretty capable of navigating this themselves, and they'll get in, and then you'll see really how cool it is and how easy it is to share information both ways, from a teacher pushing things down or even a student submitting work to a teacher. There's apps for both these tools. For Seesaw, there's a Seesaw Family app, then there's a Seesaw Student app, and there's a Google Classroom app as well. So definitely tap in to these videos. For those who do not have the technology, once again, we have sent the form, the link to a form to fill out. We've already had many people respond to that. We send it via text message, which was our number one venue to get that pushed out. Because once again, I think just about all our parents have the capability to utilize a phone. So through text message, we did send an email on Facebook, on Twitter, and on our webpage. So once again, we're getting information on those folks who need us to send those paper copies to. And as we wrap up, I do appreciate your time with this. I know it's a lot of information. I wanted to talk through it because instead of just sending an email with information, I know things can get lost. It's even though I didn't talk through all of the points, I wanted to try to at least touch on some of the things that I thought were most important. And I stated this in the beginning, but once again, and close with this is, as we teach and we learn and we grow through this process, let's please all make sure that we're conscious of being patient, we're flexible, and that we extend grace as we're all in this together. And we hear that getting through this pandemic, we're all in this together. Well, this whole learning process, we are all in it together. And we truly are all learning. We're all teaching. We're teaching one another, and we're growing through this. And I am excited about the capacity and what this is going to do for our students, our teachers, and our parents in the future, because once again, we're all learning something new. We're doing this teaching and learning in a total different venue. But I'm a true believer that even through our most challenging times, that a lot of good is going to come from this. And so I have no doubt that that's going to happen in this instance. So I want to extend my gratitude and appreciation for our curriculum director, director of instruction and assessment and curriculum, Basha Keeler, who has done a tremendous amount of work putting this plan together. She has created the visual presentation that I used during this presentation. She has facilitated many staff meetings, PD sessions, and is creating a lot of resources on our webpage, connecting with the folks in the county at the state level. So I just wanted to say thank you to her, her leadership, because we wouldn't be where we're at today without her work. Also want to thank our tremendous staff who have spent many, many hours before this was even presented this week, trying to get themselves ready for what they knew was coming, but also this week in terms of their professional development. They've been working not only with us, but with their content colleagues, their grade level colleagues, working together and learning how to learn and to teach in a virtual world is challenging, but it's also exciting at the same time. And so I appreciate their passion, their eagerness. They miss all of you, all of our students, and all of our parents, as I do as well. And we're eager to get some sense of normalcy in terms of teaching, learning, and just talking with our students again. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you for your support that you're continually giving us, and the feedback. And once again, this is something we're going to work through. We're going to adjust as needed. But in the end, we're all going to be okay. We have a great sense of hope. Our students are going to be okay. Education is a journey, and life isn't a linear path, and so things happen along the way that will sometimes speed us up and sometimes slow us down. But in the end, we're going to be right where we need to be. So trust us with that. I feel good about where we're at, and more importantly, where we're going. Thank you, as always. Have a great day, and go Pirates.